down, everybody taking dog tags. Dog, this is awesome, it's Optimus Prime, and your quadrant and talking to you, got that? I was in a mind when I crafted this. The Dungeon Master's wrath with a dash of sick. I dash like Sonic Mad, not a pacifist, but pacifist the tracks when I'm rapping, kids. We the last of us, the master race. Take him with a master hand, it's cancerous. I hit him with the master sword, and sure, I make an eyesore, but I wonder how four guys make a Triforce.
Hello and welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Dominic. I'm filling in for Adam Ponophobia Cogswell as he travels back from Michigan, sort of. And tonight I'm joined by special guest William the Feedski Kopus. How you doing?
Hey, Feedski.
Fantastic.
Welcome back. I've got the usual crew of DeClaude and Shira Jaden with me as well.
Howdy, fellas.
How y'all doing tonight?
Fellaettes.
Great, how are you?
Good. And well done on the intro there, Dom. You didn't miss a step.
It could have been better. It could have been worse. All right.
We still have to make it through the news before I start congratulating anyone.
I forgot even had to do news. Okay, so first things first. Unlike Adam, I'm gonna just cover this right away. Battle Arena Thursday night. It's happening. Be there. Second, we're gonna have T-shirts. Not gonna. We still have them. They're going. You can get those at what is it? TrinityForcePodcast.com/store.
Store.TrinityForcePodcast.com.
Thank you to Claude. Review us on iTunes. Welcome. Review our other shows on iTunes. We have, the Oz LOL podcast. We've got the T-Force LCS rundown. And the Audible sponsorship. audibletrial.com/T-Force podcast. Go there, sign up, check out some books, because we all know you could stand to do more reading.
And it's so much easier to listen to a book than to have to read it. I mean, come on. You're already staring at your computer screen playing League of Legends. Your eyes are strained. Give them a break. Listen to a book on Audible.
It's also great on a long drive, too. So.
Oh, yeah. That's what I use on long drives. Stephen King's The Cell. I listened to that one on a long... we sat in the driveway after, a 12-hour drive when we finally got home. And we're like, all right, we need to finish this book, but we're home.
Oh, you just sat in there listening to it?
We just sat in the car.
You couldn't transfer that shit into the house?
Because we knew we'd never pick it back up, so...
Heaven forbid,
I locked the doors. Nobody's getting out of the car until we finish.
12 hours in there wasn't... How much did you have left?
But it's addictive. It wasn't much. It was like 20 minutes, but...
Okay. That's not so bad.
Sorry, I'm the Dom today. I just went off on a tangent. Sorry.
Apparently, yeah. Let's see.
Oh.
We're also going to be at PAX East. And by we, I mean the LCS Rundown's Montnagorum. And Moobeat's joining him, right?
Yep.
Sorta. They're going to be at PAX East. They're giving away buttons. There's a pass code that you got to listen to, and find that out, and listen to the Rundown show, and you'll hear the pass code, and you'll get a button from them. That's pretty sweet.
And if you're wearing swag, any kind of T-Force swag, T-shirts, whatever. Even if I think if he finds you with a button and he hasn't given you that button, maybe Moobeat gave it to him, because I don't think they're going to be going there together, so they're going to be separate.
Okay.
So maybe Moobeat will slip some buttons, then Tom will see it, hey, and then boom, you can get some free RP.
That RP.
Yeah.
That RP.
I glossed over that. Wasn't even reading. That's why, I needed this in audible format. That's what I needed.
Doc, but I just remember that part.
Appreciate that. Normally, I'm not listening to Adam when he talks about this stuff. I'm doing God knows what.
Do we blame you?
Yeah. All right. That covers the news. Let's get into the show. We have the Feedski with us tonight because it's been a while since we talked about Dominion, and we all like that mode. But I also hear you are now playing Summoner's Rift these days.
Yeah, well, after you have like 5,000 games of Dominion played, sometimes you need to change it up a little bit, Not to mention sitting in queue for like 20 minutes isn't always fun.
I can imagine that gets pretty brutal.
Yeah, some people have it even worse than I do, though, so I don't really complain. But like early, if it's not prime time, then like queue times are just insanely long. It's not great.
So how's your Summoner's Rift adventure going?
It's going okay. I don't know. I just hate the people usually in ranked, so I try to stay away from it. But the last time I played ranked was at the beginning of the season. I just did my placements, and I was like, okay, that's good enough. And then I started ELO decaying, so I was like, damn it, all right, let's get back on it. So it's going okay though. My top lane Soraka is doing pretty well.
Since you're such a notorious bot lane Soraka,
so you're playing that at ranked?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah,
nice.
It's great.
It's
not so great in the champion select, but everyone's like, oh god, GG, and then they're like, oh wow, hey, not too bad. I was like, yeah, But yeah,
That's Raka.
So, Feedski, I'm going to leave it up to you. Do you want to do... I mean, we got pretty much a listener question episode going.
So, Raka top.
Yes.
You ever fight a Wukong one-on-one?
I have before, yeah.
There should be something when you're throwing those bananas at him. He should just go,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I waited for that.
They should
auto for that.
Yeah, he did.
All right, anyway. Sorry. Continue.
Feedski, I'm going to leave it up to you. We're doing pretty much nothing but listener questions tonight. So, do you want to do Dominion stuff? Want to do Summoner's Rift? Want to do a little from column A, a little from column B?
Whatever, both.
All right.
Sure.
You got a Disney song there.
Yeah. So I guess we can start out with the Dominion questions there, because we do have a few left over from last time. Apologies for not reaching out to the fans this time around. It's pretty last minute that we got all this put together. There wasn't time. So let's see. Solo writes in general, how should I itemize my champs? He gets the sense that you should build defense first and maybe penetration second for some damage, because it's so easy to get deleted if you don't prioritize defense. This kind of applies to both modes, but still. For Dominion. Itemization.
I mean, obviously, if you're a tank, you want to build tank. I wouldn't build tank on an assassin because, well, you want to be able to still burst people down. But it's basically the same as you do on Summoner's Rift. I mean, you don't really build anyone too differently on.
Malzahar?
Is he
Malzahar?
talking about bot?
Malzahar? It just says it's just in general. So,
I mean,
because I wonder why he thinks he gets deleted so fast in Dominion. Maybe it's in the big top fights where they keep going.
Yeah, I mean, well, assassins are kind of picked quite often. So if you pick a squishy champion and then you're facing a couple of assassins,
yeah, I mean, I guess in my recent games it kind of feels like you can't just because there are so many more assassins, you can't just run around by yourself if you're someone squishier. You gotta really focus on sticking with your team and only shying away if it's a good objective for you to push. Am I wrong about that?
No. Yeah, I mean, generally, it's a good idea to stay with your team because you're bound to run into someone or multiple people in the jungle, and unless it's a 1v1 that you're just confident you can win, then. But the chances of it being 1v1 are slim unless the whole team's dead or ganking somewhere else. But yeah.
Now the fact that you want to constantly be putting pressure on the objectives doesn't. I guess it could affect your itemization a little bit. Maybe your boots choice, or maybe you want a little bit more mobility. It definitely affects your summoner spells because they're different in Dominion to begin with. But would you say that you're going for more mobility, maybe one mobility item where you wouldn't normally have it, or
no? I mean,
taken care of as your champ.
Back when Priscilla's Blessing was a thing when Dominion first came out, that's
oh god, that item.
That was an auto buy.
Yeah, well, I mean, for certain people, it was pretty strong, but for those of you who don't know, it basically made you cap points faster. So you'd see a lot of mobility and then Priscilla Blessing and a bunch of backdooring. But right now, that's not usually the case. People don't... hi, Trevor. People don't... don't really prioritize mobility that much. It's not a very important
thing. And that's because
thing.
of the speed shrines.
Sorry, 1 second.
That's okay.
Yeah, so Solo, that's how you pronounce it. Solo, it's French.
I'm going with Solo.
Solo.
It's Solo.
All right, Solo.
Han.
I like this. I think we pretty much answered that question. You think we can move on to Thin Clover?
Sorry about that. By the way,
okay.
Dom, he just made me
Trevor.
cave. I'm gonna drink with you.
Yeah!
Wow.
So you can thank my brother.
We were just, apparently, I was the only person on the show drinking tonight and everything, and that has me really missing Adam. But now Feedski's gonna join in.
I can't let you do that by yourself.
Appreciate that. I was I wasn't even embarrassed about it. I was just feeling really alone. That's really all it comes down.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Trust me. Just trying to be healthy, but we'll just delay that one more day. Maybe.
I jumped into listener questions without thinking about it, but they announced all those revive trinkets.
Yeah.
You excited about that? You not excited about that?
I didn't hear about this. What's that?
So basically, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, okay. So basically, they created that trinket slot, which is useless on Dominion because they don't want to add any vision granting or vision of removing items because you can't grant vision. What's the point of removing it? But because they have that vision slot and because Revive has become such a prominent summoner spell within the game, they are toying around with the idea of turning the trinket slot into
A revive.
basically a revive slot. And I think they have a couple different ideas that they're toying around with that will give sort of additional effects depending on how you want to develop the revive trinket, so to speak. But that does add it adds a very new dynamic to that map and changes a lot.
Yeah, it definitely does. Manwolf Axe Boss, I think that's his name on there. Yeah, he has a thread on the Dominion forum getting everyone's input. I haven't checked on it in like a couple days. I've been out of town, so I'm a little out of the loop on the latest suggestions. But there's been some really good suggestions on...
What are people looking at?
Basically, you're going to have the revive trinket. There's going to be a couple charges on it. Some people are talking about being able to like capture faster when you use it for a little bit, getting more... getting speed, and there's just a bunch of different suggestions. Yeah, but there's a bunch of different suggestions. The thing is, like, everyone always says revive is such a good summoner spell, and it is. So having a revive trinket is good, because basically, right now, if you take revive, you only have one other summoner spell. So this will allow other summoner spells, but the thing is, you still have to know how to use
when
it.
To use. Yeah. You don't want to waste your revive, and you run on the map, and
But I think it will help because people will learn eventually. And they have to take revive now. You're not going to be like sitting.
It's kind of like warding on Summoner's Rift. It's there. You got to do it now, and the support can only do so much. So you got to do it. You might as well use it.
Exactly.
Is it like I really haven't read about it in a pretty good stretch at this point? Are they talking about like you only get a certain number of charges or a certain number of times you can revive, or is it going to still be on a cooldown, or is that still up in the air?
Last time I looked, they were talking about a certain number of charges, I think. But again, I haven't checked the thread in like a couple days, so if there's anything new, I haven't seen it. I don't think anything's really set in stone quite yet. I think Manwolf Axe Boss is just listening to suggestions and getting.
It's a mouthful of a name, but it's a great.
I know.
Is it on the league? How do you get to how can our listeners get to this thread? Check it out.
If you go to North America forums, the Dominion section, I think it should still be on the front page.
Is it pinned?
It's actually not pinned, but the forums are pretty dead, so it takes a while for something to... it's still on the front page.
It's near the bottom. Revive Trinket, probably, right?
Yeah, it's named Revive Trinkets, yes.
Okay. Cool.
That actually, that got a lot of views on that.
Oh, so you're looking at it now? Still on the front page?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys, check it out.
So, actually, he has it in the main post now. He says the current functionality would be 3 revive charges with no cooldown, which could make it a huge clusterfuck. But I think
that sounds
awesome. I could see early game being a total mess, except for that one that holds out.
The mill is going to be contested for the first 10 minutes.
Do you think that could push games longer?
I don't really think it will make games too much longer, but it's going to definitely change how you play and possibly change some picks too. You may want to go for like stronger early game champions and try. It's going to change a lot.
I was just curious, because every now and then you run into that game where it seems like both teams actually know what the hell they're. I'm speaking from my considerably lower elo compared to yours, so like. Every now and then you run into a game where both teams just really know how to duke it out at the mill, and it just like that ends up taking 7 minutes or something like that, and that'll drag on a game. And if everybody comes with revive and everybody gets multiple charges of revive, that's where my head was at on that. But
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, there would be strategic element to saving revives as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I'm excited about it because, I don't know, right now I'm just kind of tired with Dominion, so like something new and fresh would definitely be helpful.
In a world where you're not taking revive, like let's say you, for whatever reason, you weren't going to take revive in a game today, what summoner spells should people be looking at? I feel like we kind of touched on this last time, but it's been a while, and I know we spent a lot of time talking about revive then too. So.
Yeah, because we didn't even know about the trinket. So
yeah,
with this trinket, what would you say?
I'd go with like probably a couple exhausts, maybe a garrison or two, an ignite, and even clairvoyance used to be used actually in tournaments a little bit. Wasn't a lot of use, but it was seen in some tournaments. And now since you have 2 slots for summoner spells, you may see more clairvoyance again. The thing is with clairvoyance, it's helpful, but it's a lot more helpful when you're actually with a coordinated team and you can capitalize on okay, well we see they're all here, we can sneak around, go this way, we can go do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, clairvoyance is definitely a lot more helpful in my opinion when you have a coordinated team. But other than that, I think garrison will come into play a bit more because that kind of fell out. And then just the exhaust ignites again. Other than that, I wouldn't really
win the fights.
I mean, you don't think a lot of barrier is going to show up, at least on some of those?
Some people already take barrier, actually, and it always catches me off guard, because I'm like, who the fuck takes barrier? And then, when I'm dueling them, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this, and then the barrier, I'm like, oh, that's why you took barrier. but barrier,
no flash.
No, some people take flash, too. Actually, I like taking flash on Ezreal, just because I have 2 escapes with my arcane shift and flash. And
okay.
But, I mean, flash, a lot of people hate on flash a lot more than I think they should.
Well, you can flash some of those little healing things, right? And surprise someone and then come back into the fight maybe, or go around the terrain, come back in and contest it and just keep being that... I can see on Ezreal, you just keep poking them and they can't cap.
My reservation about flash was really just that the cooldown on it is so long for a game mode that's relatively short. You kind of... you get stuck with a summoner spell that the majority of the game you're just not using. It's one thing when it's revive and that's literally getting you back on the map, but there aren't a lot of walls that you can really flash over. So it's sort of like you might be able to dodge an ability, but are you going to even get out of there, or what other trouble you're going to run into? To me, it was always a case where it just made more sense to take something either more reliable or with a shorter cooldown. But you seem to think otherwise.
Well, I mean, no, I don't really think Flash is some amazing spell, but just like the people I play with are like, oh, God, fucking Flash, so horrible. And it's like, I don't think it's that bad, but it definitely doesn't, it's not as viable as some other spells. I'd much rather have an Exhaust or an Ignite. Even if I die, I'd rather have an Exhaust to throw down, so hopefully I can help my team or just kite for a little longer. But, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's horrible, but it's definitely not one of the stronger spells.
Cool.
For sure.
I'm going to jump over to Summoner's Rift for one here. I feel like this is a pretty good all-purpose question, but also something Sean could answer really well here. Adam Kidd writes, in solo queue, what do you guys expect out of or look for in your jungler? And I think we all have different expectations, but Sean's in a unique position to both have those expectations and have to fulfill them.
As a jungler, what I look for in a jungler. Honestly, the biggest thing is just knowing the areas that you're going to be able to make the most impact with the least risk, or basically awareness of knowing what lanes you're going to be able to get ahead to be able to carry and which you should neglect, and then the wherewithal to know to ignore the people who you are neglecting if they get pissed off at you for neglecting them. Yeah,
well, that's
it's
from
just
a jungler point of view.
Yeah.
What do you think like a mid laner? What do you think a mid laner would expect you to do?
Oh,
Feedski,
mid laners.
what do you normally play?
Me?
Will? Yeah.
I mean, I try to get top. I enjoy top, but I can go anywhere.
That's fine.
The island.
Yeah.
But the Claude, you're kind of the de facto mid laner here.
Yeah.
What do you usually look for?
I like mid. What I like to see out of the jungler, for one, I like when he takes the blue buff. He's offering it to me. I'm like, okay, I offer it back. Like, if you keep the blue, will you keep ganking bot? I want him to camp bot. I'm in a mentality where if bot lane wins, then I don't have to worry about them, and then maybe that'll draw the jungler over to the bot lane and keep him out of my lane, and then I can continue my happy little farm fest. But I don't know. I really like junglers that aren't too risky. I don't like the ones that go to try to counter jungle, and then they're pinging for me to come help because they're getting counter jungled, but they're closer to the other mid, and he's going, I'm like, I gotta miss the CS, run over and help him out, and then he dies anyway, and I'm running for my life, and maybe I get an ignite and I die too.
See, so I'm totally the other way, because I I like the junglers that are going in and getting everybody else's face, because that usually keeps the enemy jungler out of my lane.
I like it too.
Well, yeah, but
like,
you gotta go in. You go in assuming, or you want to assume that your jungler's going to be successful at what he or she's doing.
Well, they could be more successful being careful, and then I don't have to worry about them. I can play my own game, and then they can go help the lanes. Leave me alone.
I'm also the guy who's like just constantly warding up my own jungle. I throw way more wards. I feel like I throw way more wards in there than a lot of other people do. So I'm not terribly worried about getting invaded, because even if our jungler's not there, like the mid and the support and the marksman can all collapse on that guy, and then buffs. Hey, that's fun for everybody involved, right? Yeah. I mean that's in theory it's working out like that. There's way more going on there than just that, but. I mean, I really just want a jungler. Like, if the jungler is ignoring my lane, I want it to be for a reason. I don't want it to be like I'm just running around farming and everything. I want it to be because they are focusing on pushing the hell out of top lane and just getting that, like Jax or Olaf, just shutting that champion down.
That's the thing. I've played so much top lane this season. I've played much more top lane this season than I have jungle. But every time the enemy jungler is camping me top lane, I'm just like, look, guys, I'll hold him up here as long as I can without dying. Just like, you just make it count somewhere else, because I'm not going to be as useful as I could have been if it's one of those things just to keep people, to try and remind people to keep the game in perspective, that if their jungler's just sitting top lane, they can actually go make things happen somewhere else, or like force an objective mid or bot.
Exactly.
Rather than like say, oh, you're just getting spam ganked top and your jungler continues to farm. You expect your jungler to do things, but it also doesn't hurt to nicely remind them that you're also fulfilling a role and they can be making a difference elsewhere.
I'd rather not have them like some top players will be like, oh man, they're camping me, jungler help, what the F. And then the jungler maybe feels bad and folds and tries to come up after a gank, and he's trickling in. The other guy's already dead or backed, and then everybody's losing. He's losing out on experience and everything, and then he gets pushed out of the lane. So, I don't know. I don't like the junglers that are doing that. I'm trying to tell them, look, don't listen to this guy. Mute him and help us, or stay in the jungle. He's a lost cause. Let him sit there and try to farm. Let the turret go down so he can freeze the lane, and move on from there. But get a little off what I wanted to say about the jungler as well.
You really are taking my role today.
Yes, he is.
The tangent, sorry. Well, because the jungler thing is actually a really good question. I like this one. And as a jungler, there's always that thing where everybody blames a jungler when they're losing, and then back and forth, blah blah blah, which I don't like because I like to play jungler as well. But when the jungler, let's say he's coming to my lane, he's like pinging to gank. I'm like, okay, the jungler's going to come gank. But there's a huge wave of enemy minions, and the timing is just way off. And then he comes running in, and the minions are all attacking me as I try to go up. He's like, "Why didn't you help, man?" And he gets his ass kicked and either dies or has to run away, and the gank is unsuccessful. I expect the jungler to know when to gank, to look at the minions on the lane, look at how pushed it is, see where the enemy champion is, etc. And then I, as a jungler, would expect that my lane ally to not telegraph. Like, I'm coming to gank, and all of a sudden he goes charging at the enemy, and he backs off, and I can't gank because he just totally gave it away.
You bring up a great point with if there's like a huge wave at the turret comment. Basically, unless the enemy laner is like threatening on your turret to go in at any moment and like dive, ignite, and try to get out kind of thing, don't go to gank a lane. If there's a ton of minions at the turret, you might as well just sit and wait in the bush for a few seconds while they clear out those minions, because you're gonna go and get pissed when you die and they're at a quarter health from running through the minions, and then they die as well. So
that's settle.
Yeah, like that's an easy way to get on tilt due to something really, really stupid that if you're the jungler, you just straight up that's your fault in a way, because you baited your ally into bloodthirst, and
I always call that a classic Victor mistake. My brother's name is Victor, and he's my duo queue partner.
Is that why you were kind of like shaking your head when I was talking about that?
No, well, I was laughing is really what it comes down to, because for so long in season 2, like, he would get really, really aggressive on our opponents. Like, the jungler wouldn't even necessarily be there. That wasn't the issue. He would pick a fight, and then in his mind, we had everything on lockdown and we were good to go. And what he never accounted for was all the minion aggro that he was taking. So he would either die and not understand, or he would have to blow all kinds of summoner spells and be like, why did we lose that trade? I'm like, it's because you keep taking all of the minion aggro. I can't, when you're picking these fights, I can't do anything about it because the minions are pissed at you, baby. So
well, that too, if you are chasing and you chase them all the way from your turret to their turret and you don't pick up the kill, you just lost so much minion XP and gold. You're going to be even further behind than you were if you were behind. So it's one of those things that it's, unless they're just actively threatening your top laner on the turret, don't go into gank if there's a huge minion wave there. Wait for them to clear it out and then try and go make something of it. If it's like a Shyvana or a Renekton or somebody who's going to try and all-in you with level 6 or something like that, feel free to sit in the bush and then go in and kill the hell out of them if they're going to overcommit to something without warding the bush. But yeah, I mean, it's a situational thing.
Yeah. I was also what I had to say about that one.
Yeah, we really got we got sidetracked on that one.
I learned a lot.
I'll send back over to the other game or the other mode then. Let's keep going down the line. Finn Clover writes, if you've just killed the bot lane who has no revive and you're heading toward their point, but someone starts to backcap your point, is it better to try and save your point to try and even the score or try to even the score by capturing the enemy point first before going to your point?
I'd say just keep going and trying to capture theirs. I mean, assuming you know where the rest of the team is, like if you see them up top, then yeah, definitely just keep going to capture their bottom point. But half the time, a big mistake that's made a lot by people is like they'll notice that, but by the time they actually get back to the point, it's neutral, so you no longer have the turret to help you in fights. And if you don't win that fight, then you're really screwed. Or if you get low and you have to recap it, I mean, someone else could be coming down and clean you up. So I'd keep going for the point, for their bot point. Also, that reminds me of something that I see happen all the time.
Let's hear it.
If you have 4 people up top and your bottom laner gets ganked by like people, if you're up top, just keep pushing with the team for another point, because by the time you get back to your bottom point to defend it, it's going to be theirs. So you're just wasting a lot of time. But I see that happen all the time. Like, just keep moving. If all your resources are up top and theirs are bottom, just switch sides and keep pushing on their side to like their midpoint or something.
Because I noticed in solo queue, people start breaking off. Oh, panic, go defend this spot. And others like, no, let's push. And then there's split decisions, and everybody loses their fight.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where, like, League is very much a game where the obvious action is usually the wrong one to take. And so, like, when you see the enemy assaulting that point, like, in your mind, it's really just, gotta go help gotta go help my friends, gotta go help my team, whatever. And when in reality, it is just like, just the way you highlighted it, go attack a different point and put pressure somewhere else rather than letting them get control of everything. But, like, that just goes against a lot of players' instincts.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you can even look at it instead of like trying to headbutt the other person, you try to redirect some of that pressure somewhere else. So like, I don't know, it's from like a martial arts background, and it's like kind of a redirection of force sort of thing. So like your first response is to want to go and stop it immediately when you should just refocus on other things anyway. That's definitely a mistake tons of people make all the time. And that isn't just for Dominion, that's for Summoner's Rift as well.
It's a good way to put it. I'm glad you explained the redirection of force thing, because you said headbutt and I thought Alistar.
I did too.
Yeah, no, instead of like, unstoppable force meets a movable object, you just bypass it and do something else.
So Malphite, who does he meet?
No.
He meets
stop.
Mundo? Oh, all right. You keep naming these abilities here. Sean, let's do an analogy where you're not naming a league ability, and maybe we won't get
maybe
confused.
they should stop naming league abilities after analogies, and it would make this a whole lot easier.
Yep.
So Devin writes, the setter buff seems to be way more hotly contested in the Dominate Dominion tournaments than in regular matches. When should you grab the shield versus pressuring other areas of the map? I'm terrible at grabbing that shield. Like, I will run right by it and go and do, whatever else. To me, I'm like, I'm not the person I should have that shield. So I'm genuinely interested in the answer to this one.
I mean, it's nice to have, but it's not anything super, super important. Like, the shield and the extra damage you get is nice. But, I guess, like, if you can push a point and get a point capped, definitely do that instead. But say, like, you just killed them up top and a lot of them caught the death timer wave, because there's a certain amount of time where if your teammate dies and you die in a certain amount of time, you catch their wave. So if it's like 10 seconds of them being dead, then just go ahead and grab it if you don't need it back, because 10 seconds isn't enough to go cap another point. But if they have a death timer of like 20 seconds, then definitely go cap a point, and then you can go back and get that shield. Or if only a couple people are dead and they're not contesting any points, and you see where they are and they're not going to rape you when you're trying to get the shield, then you can do that too. But it just depends on where people are on the map. And
so is it a case then where...
I was going to say, I don't think it's really a point of contention, because all the other caps are points of contention. So it's not like you're going to be fighting over those buffs, really. And if you are, you're probably wasting your time, right?
People fight over it, but it's not like some big Baron fight like you'd have in Summoner's Rift. Like, hurry up, go now. Like, if they get it, it's like, okay.
I mean, do you think that it would be a better change if it was something that, like, you genuinely had to contest? Or would that add way too much to an already chaotic mode?
I think they should definitely do something to the middle buff, because right now it's just me. Like, I think...
So, like, make it more powerful, but there's only one?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they should do. Just something would be nice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Infinite Crisis has something where, like, you capture a meteor or something, and then, like, meteors drop and take points off the Nexus health. That's kind of a cool idea. But I think they made it to where, like, 100 points get knocked off or something ridiculous, so it couldn't be that strong. But it would be cool if it was maybe, like, knock 20 points off like the quest does or something. Or I don't know. But right now it's just kind of a boring thing. Like, no one really wants it that badly.
Like, if you're playing Cho'Gath and you have max stacks, you definitely want to pick it up and get bigger, obviously. Look cooler.
That is true. And then Lulu on top.
Yeah, Lulu ulti.
Just play Zac and get as big as possible.
But yeah, the middle buff isn't super, super important. It's nice to have, but don't, like, die over trying to get it. For sure.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep trucking down on these then.
Cool.
Finn Clover again writes, in a blind pick scenario, how would a countered bot lane, such as Udyr versus Teemo, survive? Does that person need a gank? Should that person just be switching? What's the best way to handle that? And again, like, a lot of people do run into this in Dominion because it's blind pick always.
Yeah, so it's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know who you're facing. But generally, building defenses could be a good idea, unless it's, like, I don't know. I feel like mid to later game, Udyr would be able to shit on Teemo if you just built someone tanky, and because he's pretty fast. I never play Udyr, but he's a pain in the ass to deal with.
Teemo's not that big of a deal, and the reason for me saying that is if you play Tiger, if you hit them with the ability, it still applies. So, like, he might blind you, but you're still hitting him with the magic damage bonus from it. And if you're playing Phoenix, it's just based on attack speed, so you're still hitting him pretty hard. Once you get to that point where you can catch up and you're not going to run over a bunch of shrooms to get to him, you shouldn't really have that much of an issue, especially when you can block a lot of his like top-end burst from the Q with your effective health from the Turtle Shield. It's like getting to that point, I would say, before he pokes you down and crushes you. But here's the thing, if he's poking you with Q, there's no reason you shouldn't be blocking it with Turtle. And then especially if he uses Q to poke, just go blitzkrieg him when his blind's down. Like, that's a big mistake a lot of teamos make, is that they'll poke you with Q and then you can run up and trade, because their biggest, like, trade defense isn't applicable when they're actually when somebody's actually dishing out damage.
That's I think that's good tips because you specifically mentioned those champions. Are there any other champion picks that would be a much harder counter that you would consider switching, or that you can
we
think
almost
of?
have to just like come up with a specific bad.
Yeah,
matchup.
where you really get shit on, but you, I don't know. In that scenario, would you then say, if it's just there's no way you can hold the bot lane, then
I mean,
switch it out?
I've switched before, but half the time no one really wants bottom, so they're like, "Oh no, screw you, take it." But I mean, if
You need to
it's
play with Adam for.
Yeah.
if it's a good team, then like, and they notice like, well, you're losing bot, it's probably wise for a better matchup to go down. But some people are just dicks and like, no, keep dying, I don't care, it's just a minion.
Can you switch it up a little bit, maybe? Focus on the bot and then pushing down that way, but then they respawn and they can come back in faster.
That's mainly why the windmill is mostly contested, because when they do respawn, then it's like the 2 points right there. It's really close to the base. But I mean, ganks happen pretty frequently in higher elo. So even if you like Udyr versus Teemo, if you're not a good Udyr and you don't feel safe playing versus Teemo, I mean, he's not really gonna out push you. Like, you could wait till they get closer to your turret and just clear all the creeps. He's not gonna be able to dive you to the turret or anything with that sort of matchup. And then just ask for some ganks, I guess. Like, if they're doing fine top, surely one of them's able to come down and gank.
There you go.
On that note, when you come down to gank, make sure you use the Fog of War, or else it's kind of not really an effective gank.
Well, here's the thing. That you actually brought up a good point about what's Teemo going to do. He's just going to push you to the turret anyway. If you were playing Phoenix, you'd be able to clear out the wave pretty easy without any issue as well. And like, he's not going to go in and try and fight you underneath the turret. So honestly, that matchup doesn't sound as bad as like now as it did when we first started talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you're like level 1 in Summoner's Rift, it could be a lot different. But since you start out with level 3 and a bunch of gold, it's not that
a little bit easier
problem.
I will say one of the most unfun matchups I've had bot on Dominion is Aatrox and the Kayle, but that's just probably
wasn't the LeBlanc versus LeBlanc?
That was the most fun I've ever had on that map.
Bottom lane, both LeBlancs.
Yeah, it was
That's
like
interesting.
I don't know how that. Like, I know
eggshells.
it didn't start that way. It was just a case where like our bot lane was winning, so they sent their LeBlanc who'd been killing it
and shat on our bot.
Yeah, and so our response was, well, let's send our LeBlanc and see what happens here. And it was, as Sean kept putting it, it was just a quick draw match.
It was who fucked up the least, and whoever fucked up at all was dead. It was awesome.
I mean, he said so many times, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in this game. That was I do have a question that kind of corresponds with this. Is there merit to a strategy that kind of focuses on putting somebody like with a weak early, like take a Kali, for example, who is not really that useful to her team until she hits level 6.
Yeah.
Is there merit to throwing her in the bot lane and just having her treat it like it's, top or bot, on Summoner's Rift, not really pushing hard, just focusing on getting as much money from CSing and that type of thing as she can, and then otherwise playing safe until she hits level 6 or, even a little bit higher and can run around murdering everybody else? Or is that something that is just too easy for typical Dominion play to deal with?
No, some people do it. I think I've seen it most with like 80 carries. They get some farm, then they go up top and just wreck everyone because they've got so much more gold than the top laners. I've played Akali bottom lane recently, but she has a lot of trouble pre-6, even down bottom if someone has any amount of poke at all. And generally a lot of bot laners do have poke. But with 80 carries, it's definitely seen a bit. I don't know how it works in lower ELOs. I don't know if they do that. But I've seen some higher ELO teams do that and stuff. But yeah. 80 carries generally get a bunch of farm bottom and will switch sometimes. But
I could see someone who has a huge power spike at level 6 being a good bottom choice, just because you hit the bottom and then all of a sudden you start murdering, or you're pushing that bottom lane in, you're murdering them real quick, neutralizing their point maybe, and then they fight for it back, whatever the case may be. So I'd like to see that, actually. That's a good point, Tom.
I mean, well, it really depends. Because it's blind pick, it really just does depend on even who they send down there. It might be a case where you send your Akali down there, and then it's against like Yorick or some shit, and then have fun with that.
Yeah.
But
No,
like,
thank you.
I don't know. I mean, I try to look at it. It's like, to me, when I'm sitting with the 4 other people, sort of waiting for the game to really start, there are a lot of times where I think, oh yeah, we have this person going bot lane, but that person could really swing the top fight if, you know, Akali or someone like that could just hold on to bot for a little while. But, you know, people have already locked in. I'm not gonna. We have 30 seconds. I'm not gonna try to throw a whole new strategy out there. I just don't type that fast.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard to get buy-in from your teammates anyway. But I do, like, I don't know, I feel like people could take advantage of that type of strategy a little bit more if they, you know, just opened up to playing it differently from the way they went in, sort of expecting the game. But I guess, you know, you could say that about every single game mode this game has to offer. And frankly, that's one of the most common frustrations people really have when it breaks down. So anyway, let's jump back to Summoner's Rift.
Okay.
Here we go. Eclipse writes, when playing tanky champions, at what point is adding more resistance not beneficial to tanking? And this actually does nicely apply to Dominion as well. So
When you're fighting Trundle. Because he'll just steal them. No.
I mean, it's after 100.
I like
where
that
you start-
answer,
where
by the
you-
way.
Like, it's after 100 resistances that you start to have diminishing returns, so to speak, where one resistance is not worth one damage reduction.
Right.
Yeah, I do when in doubt build health kind of thing. So I'll build my
That's-
basic resistances and even them out, and then at that point I just stack on health. You know.
And that's a really good philosophy to have for this.
So because health resistances really increase your effective health versus something, and
Right.
health increases your effective health. So when in doubt, build health. But I would say I like to, if it's an even number of AP and AD champions that I have to worry about, I like to go even about 150, 160 each on a tank champion for MR and AD. Usually I end up with more physical damage reduction. I end up with like 200 and change armor and 160, 170 MR at a full build. So I don't know. That's usually where I run at. It's harder to stack the MR
I
health.
almost feel like this guy's looking at the wrong set of stats at that point. If you're planning to just stack a bunch of resistances and presumably health, I mean, you should really be looking more at what their team does, and like, you know, are they really auto attack heavy? Well, then it's Frozen Heart or Thornmail that you should be looking at. Well, or Randuin's for that matter. You know, any of those.
I was about to say
Whereas
Randuin's is...
as if they're not doing a lot of auto attacks, but they really are focusing on team fights. You know, Sunfire Cape is really the thing you need to be looking at. And sometimes it really just breaks down to who is the one champion causing the most trouble for you. And if it's that fed as hell Vayne, well, then you got to do whatever you can to slow her attack speed.
You also need to look
and
into...
resistances aren't going to help because of the true damage.
Yeah.
You need to
And
look
health's
in
not going to help.
what they're building as well, because if they build a ton of pen early, having that armor to offset the pen is going to do more than just straight health would regardless.
Right, if they got the Bork.
Right. Especially because Blade of the Rune King is going to be just taking your health away anyway. But yeah,
But still,
I love Randuin's just because if you're a bruiser,
that's
the
that's
AD
my
carry
go-to
is
item.
trying to kite you, you kite her back or him back or whoever.
See, mine is always Frozen Heart is the go-to item, and
But it doesn't
I
have
mean,
any health.
granted, I'm the support. I know. I mean, but like to me, it's like, well,
Well, the cooldown reduction is amazing on it. So
Yes.
yeah,
it is.
cooldown reduction's amazing, and if I'm
mana.
buying Frozen Heart, it's because they have at least 2 heavily auto attack focused champions. Like if I'm up against Jax and Vayne, just to pick those 2 examples, I'm buying Frozen Heart.
Well,
I'm not,
there you go.
I'm not ignoring that item because that helps so many other people just
But
by
if
me
it's-
standing there.
If it's like a Zed and a Lucian, they're more of their ability based.
I mean, then I'm probably buying
but
what the hell, Locket.
Banjo?
No, well, yeah, but I'm probably buying Locket because that's an extra effective HP for someone on my team.
Right.
I would also say it also depends on the health scaling on your champion too. Like a Frozen Heart on Shogath's going to be good because he's going to be able to get
Sure.
extra health from eating stuff anyway. A Frozen Heart on Udyr is good too because he has effective health from his shield. But like, say you're playing, like, I don't even know. Let's see, like Olaf. You could build a Frozen Heart on him, but again, when you're trying to get to people and you can't be slowed down, I'd take a Randuin's for the health and the armor rather than just the attack speed slow and the cooldown reduction.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And I like the mana on it, too, for mana champions. So I see it as a wasted stat, and I vie away from Frozen Heart on a manaless champion just because of that. So, but yeah, I guess there's no real set number. I think Dom hit the nail on the head there. Look at what the enemy champions can do and how you want to counter what they can do.
I love it when you say I'm right. That's my favorite thing here.
I love it when I
how
interrupt
cleanly
you.
am I stepping into Adam's shoes right now? Huh?
I love it when I interrupt you and you do the long blink. And I can tell you're irritated. You're like, oh.
I'm pretty sure somebody in the Twitch chat brought that up too. So
Oh, did they?
yeah, there's Dom's blink again.
Yep.
I'm
like, oh, by the way, you're like,
not a polite person. I'm trying very hard to be polite.
He closes his eyes so that he doesn't open his mouth.
Hey, gotta close something.
well put.
We're going back over to Dominion here. Devin writes in, what are some tactics for defending top? Most guys and veteran players say you shouldn't just stand on the turret, but I find myself hanging around the area when I know I can't make it to bot lane to make a meaningful impact.
Yeah, so standing on the turret, one, is really bad, because, I mean, if the enemy team sees 4 people just chilling on the top of the turret, then they're like, okay, let's go elsewhere.
Pardon the interruption.
What's that?
A lot of people do not realize that the entire perimeter of that map, including every single point, is visible on the mini map and at all stages. If you base on a turret or anywhere on the perimeter, your enemy can see you and can reasonably respond because of that. That is one of the most infuriating things to me as, I don't know, a mid-level Dominion player.
I did that a couple of games we played together in the beginning. I was like, oh, herper derper derp, I'm going to run down the lane. They can't see me. Oh, and Dom, I think you were like, they can see you, right?
Stop with that. They can
Hell
totally
in the jungle.
see.
I'm like, oh, shit.
Go to the jungle. There's brush, all kinds of places where, even just go around the corner. They probably know you're going back, but then you can start to, get tricky and just hop in on them and ruin their cap or whatever. So at the very least, if you're not sure what to do, just go stand somewhere that's where they can't see.
Yeah,
anyway,
I'd agree with that. Definitely don't stand on the points. If you're gonna stand at the top point, just do it in the bush, the top bush above the top point, right. I guess. And other than that, you can go with your team, and right below the top point, but above the health relics, there's a bush that makes a upside down V, I guess. And that's a good place to stand because you can see. If someone walks by, you can see from the bush, and well, they can't see you because you're in the bush. But if you see him walk by, then and you're with your team, you can just pounce on him really quick and get a quick kill. But you can also stop them from going to the bottom or to the midpoint, to your midpoint, and it allows you to actually react quicker if they do gank bottom. If you're standing in the midpoint, I said earlier, if they gank and they're just going to be capping it, just go elsewhere. But if a bunch of you are just in the middle of the map, that actually is enough time generally to get down and actually contest the point if they're taking it. Yeah.
I mean, it's roughly 5 seconds between mid and the bottom, one of the bottom points.
Yeah, probably. They'll probably still get in neutral, but if you're with your team, two of you can just go down there and probably clean up. Or you can see how many people are down there, how many you'll need. But if you're all the way at top, then
that's a long trip. I mean, part of the reason it's so quick from mid is because there are speed shrines on either side of you there.
Yeah,
but it's a long trip from top. That's 12 seconds probably.
Probably, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I've never actually counted second wise.
And sorry to put you on the spot there, but that just having a sense. I mean, it's long. It's long enough that you're not going to make it top to contest it. Even if you could revive, but you're not going to get there to do anything effective. And I just bring that up because knowing that just roughly how long it's going to take you to get there really does inform a lot of your own decision making, and frankly also applicable to Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, I think it's 10 seconds for one person capping it from full to get it neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure is what
that
it
much
is.
I know. That much I know.
Yeah, and then
How much
I
do
guess
minions add to that?
20.
Oh,
Someone actually did the math a
Per
while
minion
ago.
and figured it
Like
out. Nice.
how much one wave does, and then
Okay.
I don't know if he ever finished it or if he ever posted it. If any Dominion players in the chat
It
know
seems
where we
pretty
could find that.
significant when you got like a full
no,
wave and somebody
yeah.
capping. You're like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to make it there.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Minions definitely help. If they gather up, they can easily neutralize a point too, like 2 or
Yeah.
3 waves probably. Definitely 3 could neutral a point. I don't know about 2, but someone did the math. I should find that, or I guess that's not math. They
That'd be a
just
neat little
tested
thing.
it out and found it all. But yeah, minions help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I'm
That's why,
like
like-
I'm scanning an article here, but it doesn't say exactly how much minions add to it. So that's a fun. Oh, look at these guys.
That was the most adorable
Cheers.
thing I've seen in a long time.
So story
It
time.
was his idea. I don't.
What's the story behind that, or is that just a?
No, but he just wanted me feel awkward. on
Impromptu
camera, I'm
love.
sure. See, he's my brother, so it
Brotherly
that
love.
probably made it
Honestly.
really awkward.
Is
knowing
that Trevor Cop?
Yeah,
Ah, yeah.
yeah. He brought me gin and tonic. Now you're not alone, sir.
Good man.
However,
Thank
we got
you.
like 7 minutes left, so
We're fine. Shut
Nice.
up. We're fine. It's fine.
Chug, 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 chug. Nice
I
shot.
thought you were going to for a second there.
No,
It's just not a dirty car
That's
bomb.
why. That's why I was quiet there.
no. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
At
Still,
least it wasn't a dirty car bomb.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I guess.
God.
All right. You know what? We have one more. We got a little bit of time here, so let's just go for it. Dracux writes, are there any champions that are considered very strong on Summoner's Rift that aren't as strong on Crystal Scar, and vice versa?
Definitely
you-
a lot for vice versa. Let me strong on Summoner's Rift that aren't strong on Dominion. That's
Well,
a tough one. Maybe
okay, Go ahead.
maybe Zach. He's not.
he's-
no, but
he's
is
not
he even
good.
strong on Summoner's
about-
Rift anymore?
How's Renekton do on?
Oh, there you go. There
Strongest
you go.
one on
That's a good
Summoner's
one.
Rift right now, Renekton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one that immediately jumps to mind. I'm like, why are you
with
people
me, that's
leaving
what I thought.
on the board?
Yeah, so Renekton's probably definitely one of those that's a lot stronger on Summoner's Rift than Dominion. I'm trying to think who else is. Oh, Shyvana probably is up there as well.
So it's funny that it's a lot of so far, it's the Bruisers who everybody seems to think would be the go-to champions on Dominion.
Yeah. What are some other top laners? Because those are generally
Trundle.
Trundle,
Trundle.
Mundo,
on Dominion.
Yeah, Mundo's falling out at the top tier.
used to
Olaf?
be Nasus.
Let's go Olaf with the.
We
Olaf is-
love
I think
Idol.
he should be top. I agree he should be top tier. He's just a beast. I like Lee Sin top. Jax is making a resurgence.
I think maybe just like Renekton and Shyvana. Oh, Shen is probably not really strong anymore, but he's definitely
Yeah.
not strong in Dominion.
Now, who's really strong on Dominion?
Yeah, Thresh
Like,
now.
Who are the
Surprise.
must bans?
Really,
Thresh.
really, you
Thresh,
were
yes.
actually really lukewarm on those changes. I remember you tweeting about them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Apparently, those were some very good changes.
Turns out that's all he needs.
No, he needs to be toned down a bit now. He can just get so many souls and so much free armor. And like the first time I faced one after his changes, I just thought kind of didn't click that he got changed, and I just
Whatever, it's Thresh, Miss a hook, ha ha ha, now you can't do anything, and I'm gonna kill
but
you.
That's not the case. No, he's strong now. He's definitely strong now. So he should probably get toned down a bit, Manwolf. If you ever listen, Manwolf.
Hopefully he tunes in.
How about Rise? I know he's making a big resurgence on Summoner's Rift. How's he in Crystal Scar?
I like Rise. He's not really picked too often, but back when I started playing Dominion, I played Rise all the time, bottom lane. I actually just recently
That's
picked
really
him up
weird.
for a couple games, too, just because he's fun and I miss him. But yeah, I think Rise is pretty solid on Dominion. You don't really see him picked too often, but I don't think he's bad at all. And maybe
I just decided to glance at Soren's tier list here and everything, and the top champ. I mean, Thresh is a surprise.
No.
But then Kha'Zix and Leona, that's not surprising to me at all. Leona's a nightmare on Summoner's Rift, and Kha'Zix, we saw what Insect does.
Yeah, Kha'Zix. Good old Kha'Zix. He's gotten toned down a bit too, though, so he's not too bad. But people say LeBlanc. Well, LeBlanc's strong in Summoner's Rift too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still really good.
Yeah.
How's Yasuo fare? Because Sean's like furious anytime somebody doesn't ban Yasuo, or he just wants to play him right away.
I'm actually not that worried about Yasuo anymore. I just really like playing him. I'd rather not play against him if they can get Wukong.
It was like 2 weeks ago that you were like, I can't believe they didn't ban Yasuo. I'm playing Yasuo. Like, why would they leave him on the board?
Because we were playing against people on the show, and we were playing against Adam, and I wanted to shit on him with Yasuo, which we did. I'd like to say.
Not when you played against my Vel'Koz.
We lost
you can
that
fuck
game.
yourself. Yeah, we lost, but we shat on Adam, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Fuck winning or losing. Adam needs to die.
You and I have a very different memory of that game.
I don't know what you're talking about. We got owned.
Anyway, Yasuo.
Yasuo on this guy.
Back before his nerfs, I absolutely hated him bottom lane because he could ramp up so easily. And he was such a pain in the ass. Like, his free shield and his mobility and his nasty damage. Like, I could build, like, as much armor as I could in the game. All 6 items be armor, and it'd still just, like, tear through it. But after his nerfs, he's not as bad. But if you're a good Yasuo player, he's still really frustrating to deal with. But I think that goes for pretty much any champion. But
you have to be a good Yasuo player, otherwise you get shat on. Like,
into late game,
that's one of the things like other champions. Him and Lee Sin fall into that. You can't just roll your face on the keyboard and do well with Yasuo.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, late game he's still pretty strong.
He's just not fun to play against if he gets ahead early. That's the thing. Like, if he gets ahead early, he's just miserable if he's on the other team. That being said, if he gets ahead early and he's on your team, you guys are in for a great time. But just, he's just another super snowbally champion that prior to his nerfs didn't have any problem snowballing.
My experience against Yasuo on Dominion was always just like, and it wasn't ever a case where he went bot lane, so that's something to consider. But I didn't feel like he did a whole lot during the early game, and it wasn't really until like the last, 7-8 minutes where I suddenly needed to be afraid of Yasuo, and then I was kind of like, if we haven't really locked this game down at this point and we lose because of Yasuo, that's more on us than the actual.
Yeah, I don't like taking him top lane. Or I don't actually play him, but I don't like when anyone on my team tries taking him top lane. He's just a lot stronger at bottom because top lane you don't really have minions.
You get blown up.
Like,
I was about to say he's super reliant on that early farm to get like static shiv or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's the dashing around part that's like even bigger.
But yeah,
all right, well,
lane,
that about wraps it up for us tonight. Anybody have closing remarks they want to make?
No, I think did we clean out all of the listener questions on the Dominion page?
We did. Yeah. We did. We bounced back and forth a little bit, but we did
made it.
Close out the Dominion questions.
Nice.
Listeners, if you have more, send them in. Feedski will be on sooner or later again. I think. You didn't hate this, did you?
Don't ever ask me again, dude. Don't.
Okay. All right, so Feedski's not going to come back again. You can still send these questions, but I don't know who's going to answer them. Adam is going to be back on Wednesday. I hope Adam's going to be back on Wednesday because, God, I don't want to do this again.
I thought you did a wonderful job.
You did a great job. Setting it up. You got us on time.
All the boys.
A minute or so late.
Except in the beginning, you fucked it up.
I really did.
I noticed that.
I fucked up a lot of things along the way here, but
We've
done worse shows. We've done worse shows.
Way to think on the bright side.
Okay, that's it for the Trinity Force podcast this week, and we'll see all you next time.
All right, good night, guys.